Hi everyone and welcome to this interview. I'm your host, Sunny Gigi, and it's my pleasure to introduce today's guest. Today we have Baruch, raised with a mentality to chase money and meaningless material things in life. Baruch is left with lots of unanswered questions. Well, all these questions are answered when he finds Rabbi Reuven's teachings. We're very excited to have him with us today to share his journey and experience. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so today we have Baruch. He's been a Baal Tshuva and has been studying Torah seriously now for about 8 years. He's never had any type of background in Torah and mitzvot. He was raised with the mentality of, you only live once, make money and enjoy life. No purpose in life, but to chase the money and spend time on things that have absolutely no meaning. So first of all, Baruch, thank you very much for taking the time, coming on the show, and are willing to share your story with other people. Baruch, can you tell us a little more about your upbringing and how was it like for you growing up previous doing tshuva, and a little bit more about your background and your history?
I guess for me, I wasn't brought up atheist or nothing. I always knew of the God was there was God, that was the truth. But that wasn't really around anything religious though. Really didn't know much about heritage. Nobody really spoke about it. Didn't do a lot of findings until as I got older. Kind of wanted to know why, but I guess nothing really hit home because I felt like I didn't need anything. I had, both parents at home. They took care of us, was good to us. Really didn't think we needed anything else. Nothing was ever brought up for an answer at the moment till I began to get older, and things started happening and kind of put me in a position to find an answer to what I didn't know was hidden within me to start with. So I guess it started more or less as I got older, got into my late teens. My parents split, which was a big thing because my parents were always together, and they decided to split, and they called it quits. That kind of sent me a little spiral because I was already, kind of doing my own thing, and that was kind of my security, my concrete, if you will. I lost it, and so it kind of sent me off into a place of trying to find something because it was like I felt like everything was broken. And so as I moved forward in that area, families just seemed to just start drifting away. My grandmother passes. That's kind of the matriarch. She pulled everyone together. She passes. Everything starts falling apart. So before you know it, you don't really have anything to go on, and what you built your life on becomes non-existent any longer. So, as time went on, to be completely transparent, biggest thing around you and anywhere is Christianity. So it sneaks up on you and it tries to welcome you in and be friendly with you. And here I am, not really having any answers. I don't have a clue what's going on. I was sucked in for a short period of time, but the problem was I never really wanted to engage myself in education. That was my biggest problem. I always thought my personality and people liked me. I thought that was good enough. My father tried to push me into be more educated, but I never really worked hard in it. My mother's the same. So Christianity snuck up on me and took me by grasp easily because I didn't have the education to understand anything. So that sounded like it was unique. But I did not know, I'll be honest with you, I was a very good reader to start with, so I didn't really go for books because it's too challenging for me. So I avoided books. And so Christianity, you don't have to know much how to read because the book's so simple. It's just laid out. It's a kid's book, really, and you don't realize that you don't know the tangibles until you have something that can pull it up and show it that it's got flaws. And that's not to go after anyone. It's just telling the facts. So I began to read, and I really worked hard towards reading because I felt I got tired of not having anything to be able to build for myself. I felt like I was always piggybacking off other people. So the Tanakh was the first book I actually began to read on my own. I actually was able to, it took me a long, long time of staying up late trying to comprehend a chapter because my attention span was I never enjoyed public school education because it didn't offer anything. It was like, nothing I can use. I even use to this day half the time. But the Tanakh is where I began. So as I began to read, my education started, coming out. Christianity fell apart. It was like a couple months. I was like, this is not going. It's it for me. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't make any sense. It's there's hole. Because what book's correct? If you're piggybacking off the Torah, and they call it the Old Testament, as they call it. If you're piggybacking off that, why are you calling it everything wrong? Why are you saying you don't know about Peles? Why are you saying you do this, that? Yoshke he violates Torah constantly. He's telling everybody to do it. He's saying Moshe is the one that's going to basically be like Satan and accusing you. I mean, it was all. It started making enough sense, and so I was like, I can't. I'm tired of lies. I already had enough of it. So one thing led to another. A friend of mine invited me to go to Eretz Israel. I was 43 years old. Went to Eretz Israel. Stayed there for for about a month. And so I got to go around and meet all these, a lot of the, Jewish people that I was learning about myself, but I really didn't know still. I actually had two occurrences there that really messed with me a lot. Actually, it was like seeing a ghost. I seen a Hasidic woman, a couple actually, was walking from the Kotel, and she looked just like my late grandmother. I mean, spitting image. I almost fainted because I thought it was her. It was like seeing a ghost. Then I go to the Kotel. I remember saying a prayer when I didn't know how to daven properly at the moment. So I said a prayer that I thought would be a good. And so I got finished, and someone started yelling at me across the Kotel. And I look around, and there's this old rabbi. He's a little shorter than I was, and he'd kept, hollering. I didn't think he was speaking to me, so I just kept walking. I was like, who am I? He's not. Yeah. Well, this man's hollering, trying to get out of me. So I kept walking. He shouted at me about 2 more times. Finally got my attention, told me to come. And I walk over, and he looks just like my late grandfather. Just like him, face, beard. He's grabbing his beard. He's looking at me, got the pass, beautiful white silver beard, beautiful. And he goes, you're Jewish. And I said, at the time, I really didn't know where I was going, so I didn't know what mattered. I just knew a couple of things. And I didn't know what made me Jewish anyway. So he goes, are you Jewish? And I said, I don't know. He goes, you are. I can see it. Come. So he sat me down. He talked with me. I didn't want to leave, but I had to go because my ride was leaving. That changed me from that point. That was the beginning. I never was the same from that point on. It was almost like being, shedding a skin. I was never the same person. I could not coexist with anything anyway when I was younger, but now I can't at all. It's like I felt like a complete opposite from everyone. Then I took a lapse over that, and my tshuva journey doesn't actually start until about 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Still trying to figure out what to do in life. I've got this little bit. I found, some things that, showed I was Jewish, so I knew that was certain. I've done some studying, but I kind of just got away from it. Then Rav Joseph Mizrahi was the first one that I met that I actually seen a lecture on. And he starts talking, and, and all of a sudden I feel guilty. I'm like, okay, I know that I'm a Yid, but I'm not doing anything. So he's saying if you don't do anything, you're not practicing, and you're a goat. Yeah, that's basically the same thing, because, a Jew keeps Torah, and he kept saying this, and so here I am. It's like, I don't keep anything because I don't hardly know anything. I mean, I know very little. I keep Shabbos, for what I thought, for the most part. So I began to go to a Chabad house, which was, nearby, because, it was either that or Reformed or, a conservative, which neither one of them works. So the Chabad seemed to be in a good place. I started noticing it wasn't making much sense with his lectures, but Rabbi Yaron was the one that hit me in the stomach. It was social media. I've seen his name pop up in a couple of groups, and he would answer questions and stuff. And the first lecture I ever seen was he was sitting in a chair. He's in a room. He's got like a poster or a picture behind him of the Dotzi of Jerusalem. He's talking about David Melech, and he's talking about how David Melech was afraid of of his mistakes with Hashem. And he was saying, this is David Melech. He said, if he's afraid, we should be petrified. He says that a lot anyway. But the stuff he kept saying about Shabbos, and he just didn't hold back. He was just so blunt, like my father is. And I need that kind of bluntness. And when he told me, I became like I was in a freezer. I was just got the chills. started being like, I was cold. I was afraid what it was. And I remember I didn't get no sleep that night. And I started realizing, okay, there's consequences to what I'm doing. And he's calling me out. Like, he sees me, he's talking to me. And I'm like, he's answering my questions. Well, he does that still this day. I've been studying under him for 8 years. He's still answering my questions. I was about to jump in on questions on Wednesday. And I'm about to answer, when I ask the question, he's already answered it. It's like, he's already there. And I don't know. He's answered so many things for me at night. I've messaged him in the middle of the night. He's got back with me, and he'll answer the question. But I don't know, the way he does it, I need it. I don't need someone to sugarcoat it. I don't need someone to tell me everything's going to be okay. I need someone to tell me, this is what you need to do. You need to do it. And that's what he does. That's the way my father was. And I guess I'm just that type of person. I need someone to be straightforward with me, so that I can understand that I got to do something, and then I got to get out of my own way, so to say. That's kind of the start of that. So did that help put your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very interesting. So you were born Jewish?
Yes.
And you went to like a secular school growing up?
Yes, we did. Actually, we'd like to say, it was not really much. There was not really religion in our lives, so to say. So it really had nothing to actually kind of like go by. I just know that, I found stuff that my grandmother hid in boxes. Yeah, and she had a prayer book and stuff. It was an old prayer book, actually. You couldn't even hardly open the pages that were stuck together. Just where evidently she would go and cry, and she'd cry. She wouldn't let nobody else know around her, but she just kind of do it in her own private time. But it was a lot of hiding. Like, I don't know, it's just a lot of hiding, but there's a lot of hurt too. My mother's side of the family, we actually have like 3 Holocaust people that was in but no survivors. We did have 3 that were in it by name, and they all didn't make it out. They all died before it was over. The war was over. So I think there was a lot of hurt, and it was kind of like more of a hidden element.
Yeah, that usually, unfortunately, or sometimes fortunately, it usually makes or breaks people sometimes, when they've been in the Holocaust. You see some people go extreme one way or extreme the other way. It's like really depends on the individual's, interpretation of how and what they experience while they're in there. Very scary, very unfortunate, but Hashem is the one that did it, so there's not really much we can do. I wanted to ask you though, what was it that that rabbi at the Kotel told you that really influenced you, and if you can recall?
Yeah, he had several binders, and he would open up and he would show me Holocaust pictures. Actually, what was it? Think about it. It would show me Holocaust pictures, but he showed me like pictures of Jews making the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and they were at the Kotel and everything. It was old pictures. He was showing me all these things, and he said that you're like them. He says this is your pilgrimage. You finally first time coming home. This is it. And he said, I can see it in your face. I've seen it so many times. A confused look in your face, but yes, at the same time, like a child seeing something miraculous for the first time. And he said, you got to go. You got to chase that. You can't just let it be. Okay, it's a vacation. I go home. You have to chase it. He said, it will chase you. You will not. No matter if you want to or not, it's going to come after. It's going to keep coming after you. You're going to have to go after it because it's already. I mean, he just reading me. That's what I felt like. And he just said, it's on you. It's an aura. And he said, you're here and you can tell you want to be here. And he said, when you leave here, you're not going to be the same. And nobody is. No one ever is the same. And he said, dude, no matter how much you struggle, you're going to have to face this. And you're going to have to start carrying it out. And I never understood that because at the time I didn't get what he meant. But now, now I know what it means. But as time went on, I understood it. He was right. No matter what, I could go on about myself and act like everything's fine. But, it's coming after you. What your obligation is there. Whether, I've learned that myself. no matter how many people's doing anything, it don't matter if everybody's not doing something. Your obligation is the same. You still have to keep everything. The Torah still applies to you, no matter if everybody else decides they're not doing it. I learned that watching the Chabad at the Chabad house. People driving on Shabbos and everything else. I used to be one of those guys when I first started. I mean, I was just coming in. I didn't understand. I just thought you're supposed to show up. I didn't know that you're not supposed to do that. I mean, that was the ignorance because I didn't know. But that's where I learned from the rabbis, from Mazaki and Reuven, is like you can't drive on Shabbos. But the rabbis don't mind it. They're inviting them to come. They're the ones actually inviting. It's not that they're telling everybody, you're not supposed to do it. They're telling them, hey, be here tomorrow. We'll have a minyan. What Rabbi Yaron said you can't have a minyan if you're all violating Shabbos. You can't have it. You can't even pray with them. And so here I am. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm doing the wrong thing. I can't do this no more. I have to stop it. I mean, it's detrimental to my life. And I realized then you can't go by what everybody's doing, because sometimes people are not going to do it. They're going to find, sometimes people look for loopholes, especially if they see leadership are showing them loopholes, which they don't exist, but they're creating them. And I realized then I'm obligated regardless. I mean, if anyone who studies, Rabbi Yaron's his stuff every single week, I got notebooks on his stuff. He repeats some of the similarities almost every year. He says, you are obligated, basically, no matter what happens. It don't matter if you're on the island. He said this before. You can be on an island by yourself. You're still obligated. You're still obligated. The Torah doesn't just all of a sudden, oh, yeah, you got to take a break until you get back on the mainland. No, you're obligated. It doesn't change. I mean, the circumstances may change, but you have to still keep the Torah. And I realized that my obligation is with me, and that's what I think that Rabbi was telling me at the Kotel, is your obligation is to Hashem. Your obligation is not just to be Jewish and be amongst people. He said, your obligation is to Hashem. Hashem still expects you to carry out your obligation, regardless of who or what's happening around you. And I think that's what he meant to me. And he told me it would continue to come after me until I faced it. And I did. I had to face it.
So you're saying that incident at the Kotel was obviously a very unique, special. That was like your kind of wake up call from Hashem. Whoever that rabbi was.
Rabbi Yitzhak was his name. Rabbi Yitzhak. No, and that was it was my awakening, I guess, preparing me. Mm-hmm. I guess get me started. I think everything goes hand in hand. I think Hashem, sometimes he puts shards and pieces together, and he makes them kind of, they'll follow you until finally one big event happens and it all comes together. And I think that was part of that, because the one that actually activated me the most and made me just go after it was a very sense of urgency was Rabbi Reuven. He sent a sense of urgency in me that no matter who or what stood in my way, I had to do it. I mean, my father, he's not really a religious man. I used to work with him in business for years. This was after, become Rabbi Reuven's student. So I remember an incident happened, and I had to practice this because it was an opportunity that pulled up. It was very, very tough for me to make the decision to do. My father said, we spoke a couple of weeks before Pesach, and I said, I let him know that Yom Tov are coming up. I need to have the Monday and Tuesday off for Yom Tov. And he don't understand it, but he was like, yeah, at least you told me ahead of time. It's fine. Go ahead. No worries. Just take whatever you get. Take the 2 days. It's fine. I have no problem. So when the time came, it was on the Friday, there was Shabbos, and was getting ready to finish up, get home, because then I leave a little early on that day. And I reminded him, I said, you haven't forgot about Monday and Tuesday. He said, what's Monday and Tuesday? I said, I'll need to take off for a religious observance. And he said, well, no, I need you. He said, no, I need you. I can't have you do that. Yeah, I help you. You help me. You better be here. And I was like, but we spoke about it. You said it, you didn't have no problem with it. And he goes, no. He said, if you're not here, you find another job. And so
what a test.
So here I am with my father. I don't want to ever disrespect my parents at all, but I had to figure out a diplomatic way to let him know what I had to do. So I came I sat in my car for a little bit thinking about what to do. And then I realized that I had to be diplomatic. I had to be kind about it, but I would, to show the respect deserved. But I had to be honest, and I went back in and I told him. I said, I didn't know what I was going to do either. If I didn't have it, lose your job, that's a tough one. So I told him. I said, I have no choice. I won't be here Monday and Tuesday. It's no disrespect to you whatsoever, but I have to. And if you feel like you have to get rid of me, then I have to live with that too. And he's like, okay, fine. You want to challenge me? Go for it. And I'd leave. It was so hard too, because me and my dad, we've worked on our relationship. We've had a good relationship. We still have a good one. We had a kind of a shaky relationship for a while, but we have a good relationship now. And at that time we had one, but he was going through a lot of stuff, and I know where the direction and where it's coming from. But I still had to make the choice. And all I could hear when he said that was, Rabbi Yaron said, Shabbos, you have to keep Shabbos. Yom Tov's the same thing as Shabbos. You can't, no exceptions to it. Even if you lose, you have to lose it. Well, Hashem provides parnasah. That's what I was thinking. I said, Hashem provides parnasah. Even though in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't have a job. That's great. But I still did it. I still went home and I got ready for Shabbos and forgot all. I didn't even think about it no more. I just got ready for Shabbos, and I was going to say, you know what? I'm going to make these 4 days, and I'll make the Shabbos, and I'll make the 2 Yom Tov. I'm going to make it a great event. And you know what? We were delivered out of Egypt all 3,000 years ago, so I'm going to be delivered to another job. That's all I could go on. Right. My mother, I told my mother before Shabbos started, I told her, this is what happened and stuff. And she goes, of course, she wasn't happy with my father, but she said, well, you do what you must do. And she said, everything else will work itself out. Because she said, you still have to live with yourself. And if you feel this is absolute what you have to do it. You can't worry about what everybody else thinks anyway. She said, you used to worry about what people thought when you were young. And she said, you can't do that no more. If anything, I know you're doing the right thing. You got to know you're doing the right thing. She said, don't matter what I think or anyone else. And so your dad will get over it. She says, trust me, we get over things. So I went on, got everything down and everything else, and it was closed out the Yom Tov. And, I felt it was actually a very wonderful event. Got finished and went to bed, woke up the next morning. I'm thinking, okay, time to look for, maybe I could check around a little bit, because it's in the high, because I didn't really want to do too much towards that. I was trying to stay away from it. So, I really didn't start looking for anything. I just kind of still enjoyed everything. I was still, and celebrating, because I didn't have nothing to do anyway. So I might as well just keep enjoying. And I got opportunity. I got a week off now. My father reaches out to me and said, where are you at? I was like, well, I'm at home. And he goes, well, how about this? You enjoy your week, because I know you got this big event going on. And he said, I'll see you next Monday.
Wow.
So there you go. I got that's how it works. Stuff like that. I went through a lot of this actually. I've had people come at me. Actually, being Jewish has really been really tough on my part. I've had people come to me. I had a Christian couple. One time was asking me for directions. I showed them directions they was actually coming into the store. I was going to Home Depot, get some supplies, and they was asking me for something. And I pointed to where it was, because I knew it was in the store. And they looked at me and goes, what is your story? And, with my story, I said, so they start, Christians love to throw little biblical quotes out. And, even though they don't want to know what half of them mean, but they love to throw them out there. So they threw out a little biblical quote that says, where's Eve's name first spoken about? And I was like, well, I was just interested. I just want to see what they'd say. I said, well, I mean, I'm waiting on. I was like, well, how about you tell me? Because they said you don't know. That's the problem. You people don't know. Y'all, that's what's wrong with you people. You are a lost cause. Starts coming at me, and I was like, wow, what is this? And somebody had to actually pull them away and actually made them leave the store. It was getting violent. And wow. I've had instances like that, just like out of nowhere. It's like, you'll be amazed. Sometimes people, I don't know why they come at us sometimes like this. I mean, I know that, anti-Semitism is real. I've had the experience, but I don't understand why sometimes it's come out of nowhere. I think it's just like we're targets sometimes, and it's just to see what we're going to do. Are we going to lash out like the rest of the going doing? Because most people, if you come and lash out at some of them, they could break into a fight. And I didn't have nothing to fight about it. It's like I just didn't understand where it was coming from. But I've had instances like that too. So I've had all my family, except for my mother. My mother's the only one. I've had all my family not speak to me for years. So I understand how hard it is to be a Baal Tshuva, because nobody understands why you're taking such a 180 in life and everything drastically changed. I'm not one of those students that go around and start pointing fingers at people, telling them, hey, you're not right in this, you're sinning here, you're not doing this, you got to do that. Like, Rob talks about that all the time. Like, these students they learn Torah, then they go around and start, almost like they're accusing people, or they're pointing fingers at them. They're always like this and that.
They have this like zealous stage in their life where they're so like,
and I'm not one of those people. I mean, I love to share what I learned, but I don't go into that way because I don't have I wasn't brought up that way. I can say my parents brought me up to, I at least knew how to respect people. But yeah, I've had some interesting instances with it where I've been isolated and stuff, and had to deal with, how it is. I've actually had fellow Jews in the shul, make fun of me because I'm a Baal Tshuva. When I first couple of years, I was really running strong with being a Baal Tshuva. I was, they would talk about, you're watered down. You don't know what it's like to be from, so you don't really know what it's like to be Jewish. It's almost like a costume party. You're practicing along. You're having Purim all year long. I've had that where you're not pure blood. I've had these things. I know what it's like. It's hard sometimes to be Baal Tshuva on certain levels. It's according, because some people, their ignorance is on their sleeves. Sometimes they just, they don't realize that they're wiping it on you too. But I've had that instances too. But I mean, for me, I can't change what I got to do. So if this is my tikkun, then I have to figure out a way to do the best I can with it.
Yeah, those kind of people, it's very unfortunate. If they only recall, the Torah says how the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of situations like that. I don't want to speak too much. I'm trying to only speak for like toilet purposes, for constructive purposes, but it definitely doesn't help the situation. Every action, every decision that a Jew makes impacts the world. Decision that you make here might impact some Jewish person in China. We're all connected. We're all one big body. We're all one big nation. So when you have people like that, it's definitely not, you don't have much, and it's hard. It's hard. If you don't have a good foundation, you're going to break. You're going to see, oh, look at this religious guy. Look how he's talking to me. What I want this for? So you went with Chabad, and then you found Rabbi Mizrahi and Rabbi Reuven. What do you think would have happened if you didn't discover Rabbi Reuven and Rabbi Mizrahi? If you kept on, going to these other shuls and talking to these other rabbis, what do you think would have been the outcome then?
I don't think I could have changed without it. I think because there's nothing around me at the time was changing me. I mean, honestly, everything would have been the same because nobody was making me feel like I was wrong. I mean, the acceptance, the welcome, everything was fine because everybody was doing the same thing. It's amazing. Misery loves company, and everybody was just doing the same things. It's not saying there's a misery, but I'm just saying that's what it is. And nobody's going to tell you you're wrong. Because the story is with Chabad, if you mention this to them, I'm not supposed to tell themselves. So, oh, they're kidnapped, they're kidnapped children, blah, blah. You hear the same stories, and it's just like, I don't think I would have changed. There's nothing to tell me I was wrong. It's just, for me, even though I studied the books, they studied the books. Nothing was stopping them from doing it. And for me, I honestly don't know. I think I'd still be doing the same thing. Honestly, I don't think I would just stopped and just gave up and walked away. But at the same time, I think I'd still been in the same spot. That I would not be where I'm at now, where I'm pushing myself to work on myself instead of looking at other people. You know, like the other night, he had on his Rob Shure, he was talking about how he was cursing David Melech. And so everyone was going to rise up and basically kind of arrest him for doing it. They was going to stop him from doing it, you know. And David Melech said, no, don't touch it. He said, it's Hashem. Hashem's doing it. You know, Hashem is basically allowing him to do this. He couldn't do this without Hashem. Hashem was allowing this to happen. He answered that right there was some forbidden for me, because I was already kind of dealing with a little bit of, not major turmoil, but I was dealing with some things when it comes to how people, you know, act towards you. Sometimes our emotions are so hard to beat, and we have to, you know, and it kind of rattles you sometimes. You have to deal with certain things. Well, when he said that, and a bell went off. It's like, I really was asking a question, but he was answering that question without me asking. And stuff like that is, he points me in directions, and he gives the sources. There's no opinions, there's no philosophy, none of that. He's giving you sources. He's telling you directly what you need to do, and it's like all you got to do, you have to apply. That's the biggest thing. If you get your feelings hurt, you get your feelings hurt, because it's not that a lot of people think he's harsh, but no, he's not harsh. Actually, when he first started, yes, he kind of comes off that way. But you know what? You know why he's so harsh? It's because we have desensitized ourselves to what's right and wrong. And so when someone tells us something, we feel like they're being cruel, they're being mean, because we're so sensitive to not hearing. We don't hear the truth. We're too sensitive to it, because the truth hurts their feelings. And he tells you, and after you get to understand what he's doing, after you understand that what he's teaching you is critical, because the sources he's giving you is pointing you exactly where you need to be. And for me, I can only speak for myself, but he answers questions and questions and questions, and that's all. I honestly try to jump into questions and answers. I really do. I'm like, you know, I got one for him, I got two for him. He always beats me to the punch on Tuesday night, answers my question. Then Wednesday, by the time I get around to even getting a question, he's already started. So I it's like he's always on tap with me, and honestly, he is. I believe that I feel like the Hashem he's got like a prescription for us in life. I think some of us need prescriptions, and I think he picks the rabbi that you got to have, not the one you want. You get the one you have, the one it has, you have to have, basically. And I think that's the one Hashem prescribes to us in our lives. And he's definitely my rabbi, because he's 100%. I've learned more from him in my span of learning from him all these years. I probably can say I've learned from anybody, anything in my entire life. And I've learned quite a bit when it comes to business and you know, housing industry and everything. I've learned a lot of stuff in those areas. But as far as like working on myself to fix myself, to be able to put pieces together, work on myself, and actually have, you know, to-do lists for myself that I need to work on stuff, he has taught me more by far than anyone I can ever say. I mean, I can't even imagine anyone else. I thought my father and mother taught me a lot, but he's surpassed them 6 months in, and he still does. And I had tremendous honor for him. I make time every time I know his shiur will come on. I sit and I will study. I will prepare myself, and I will launch as many shares as I can when his lecture's on. I try to be as much supportive as I possibly can, and I just try to be 100% focused when he's on, because for me, that's the honor I have on him. Not because I had to practice it, it's just because I have that for him, because he's done so much. If I did not have that connection with him, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I know that.
A lot of the times what happens, I gave this example in a different podcast. I just really like your analogy, so I'm going to use it again. A lot of rabbis have a lot of people have the technique of showing, like you said, the good side, the love side of the Torah, all good things. So they kind of hooks the people in. There's nothing that keeps them in. It's like a fisherman going fishing. He sends the hook out with no bait on it. So the fish come around, they swim around, but there's no bite, which the bite is like that fear factor, that kind of, okay, this is the Torah, it's good, it's nice, and here's the the bait, which is the fear, to kind of keep you there, and just go. It's the life that you live is not the right way, and it's a limited amount of time left. Mashiach is on the way, and we don't have time to play the games. You can't just look away if someone drives to shul and say, "Oh, he's gonna drive somewhere else instead." He might as well drive here. Well, I mean, what's the difference? What if he drives somewhere right after he leaves? What are you accomplishing? Not a lot of people have that opportunity. A lot of people are blinded by, the beard and the costume, as they say, and unfortunately, they, that's why the B'ezrat Hashem organization does what they do, and you're a very perfect example of one of those people that were in that situation, and now they're not. So Baruch Hashem, it's very interesting. What was the first lecture that you watched, or was there a first movie that you watched? But besides the social media stuff, was there one that really impacted you personally, that you connected to personally?
Rabbi's when I feel like when the beard was short, because his beard was short, and it was he used to talk about how he did a lot of when we first started, he actually nobody showed up. And remember, he did his own short thing to himself, which is, I mean, I get what he's saying. He's the stuff, the Torah still has to come out. So I get what he was doing. But I remember I always looked at it as, okay, this is the beginning of Rab versus now. And now you got the pez and the beard, and the teaching, and he broken arms. He's in pain. My mother, she always says sometimes she watches him too, and she actually sent him a gift. I sent him a gift. It was probably a couple of years ago. She sent him a real nice bed comforter and stuff for him and his wife. She bought it from Kohl's. It was like a very expensive one, and she just said that's the way it made her feel. When he helped her in so many ways that she feels like cozy and safe. That's what she put it to. And and my mother goes through a lot of pain. She deals with rheumatoid arthritis, and she has a lot of joints that are, especially her leg and stuff. She goes through a lot of pain. But she says, when she sees him teaching, and she says that you can see he's in pain sometimes. You can tell he's working through it. He still has a duty to obtain, and she says she admires that he probably goes through worse than that. She said she's no stranger to pain, but for someone to get up there, knowing that they're dealing with those things, but their dedication is, I got to do this. She says that's what makes him a great teacher. She said, of most people, I'm not feeling that great, my nose is running, or blah, blah, I'm just going to take the night off, blah, blah. She says that if he takes off, it's because there's something big. She said that, and that she admires him for that. So for me, it was one of the first ones when he started. His beard was short, I remember, and he was going, and it was a lecture. I can't remember the name of the lecture. I apologize for that. But there's a big portrait of Yerushalayim, the old city. It's that he's behind him in a chair. He used to go to those lectures in the beginning. He used to go to this individual place. I don't know where it's at exactly, but he used to teach there. And it was a lecture. He was speaking about tshuva, but he was speaking about being afraid of the sins and the actions that we're doing, that if you don't know, if you don't study, you don't halacha, you don't know the information, you're not going to be afraid of it. You're not afraid of something you don't know. And I think one time one of his lectures, he spoke about, like, when people go study the laws, then they go study the business laws or whatever it is that they're into, that what they consider, a lot of people want to stay away from this because they're not exciting stories. They're not carrying you into the where you want to be. And he said that's where you're not in a good spot. When you avoid those, that means you're not in a good spot. You just want to be entertained. And he said that's not what the Torah is for. He said you need to study those because that's parts of how it teaches you how to act towards people. It's teaching you how to conduct yourself. Because if you don't know how to conduct yourself in business, then you can't conduct yourself in anything. Because if you're dishonest in business, you're dishonest in everything. And that's one of the first couple of lectures I remember him talking about keeping Shabbos, no matter what the consequence is. You got to keep it. If you don't, He's always saying you got your special seat and got them, and it just stuff like that. Nobody spoke like that. See, that you don't hear that from your common rabbis. Don't really go into that because that kind of sends people off, and that's going to push everybody away. But when did you say it? Because they don't ever say it at all. So I can understand you don't want to talk about it all the time, but when do you speak on it? Because that's why a lot of people, and people non-Jews as well, think that there's no consequences in Judaism. Like are they really a hell of some sort? Because nobody speaks about it on the most part. And it's like, wait a minute, most Christianity, if y'all speak about hell, it's all because you got it from us. We the ones that we have the details of it. So yes, there is, but it's not, unfortunately, it's not spoken much. But when he was speaking on those points about, just a lot of detail, carrot to being, being cut off from your people, being cut off from blah, 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 those details and the sources. So I write them down in the book, in my notebooks, and I went back and studied them because, I mean, I got a whole Talmud Bible. Actually was gifted to me. I've had a lot of extraordinary things to me. Hashem made sure I got the books. That's what scares me again, because I was told, and I think it's one of his shiuros that he had a couple of years ago. He said that if you have the books, you are responsible for them. So he says, if you have the learning around you, you're responsible for it. So if you got the technology, there's no excuses. But if you got the books in your house and they're collecting dust, you're responsible. The same way as dividend stock. If you have the money you don't give or blah, 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 okay, fine. It's your choice. But you're going to be responsible for every time you had the opportunity to do something with it. You didn't give it. And the books, if you're in your possessions, you're responsible for them. If you're not learning from them, you're going to be responsible for them, because guess what? You had them right there, literally at your fingertips. And so I have quite a bit of collection of books of study, the Torah, of many halakha books, but I have all the Talmud Bible. And so when he blanks at these sources, I write them down. I actually go back and I'll find them, and I bookmark them, and I find everything he says when he gives the sources. There's no denying it. That's in the books. People say he's making this stuff up. No, it doesn't make it up. He gives you the sources. Write the sources down. Go back and look them up. And then if you don't believe the books, that's your fault. But the books are how we learn. The books are they're the divine part of how we learn from the sages, as he says all the time. And he scared me. He's given me people want to go see horror flicks. Rabbi can scare you. He can, because if you're scared, that means you got some work to do. And he definitely put a lot of work on me. So just coming from a background that I just really never had a drive for education, to be honest with you. And I really urge people when they mention certain things, or they want someone, a real competent teacher, they want to actually have something to learn from. I always give them his direction, because, I know for a fact that you can get pretty much anything. If you don't get in the present one, he's got so many lectures. I've got a bunch of them that I've got archived, and then when people reach out to me on certain things, I'll send them the links. So I'll send them whatever lecture I can remember, because a lot of them I can remember certain things he speaks about. I can remember them. I can point them, and I'll send it to them so they can see it. And I've had a lot of atheists reach out to me. They'll say, I seen your post the other night. Now Rabbi's literally really blunt, and do you have any more lectures? You have anything else that he speaks on sort of that subject? And I'll send them some links, and hey, they're thrilled. It's just people just wanting something to be. They just want to be told. They're tired of being lied to. I think some of that.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to find. It's definitely the end of days prophecy coming to life. The world is going to be upside down. There's not going to be much truth.
Yeah, I'll tell you another secret. When he does his lectures, I try to be, when he gives lectures, I'm trying to share as much content as I can. I feel like it's a gift when he reads. Sometimes he takes some time out to score what's going on, but if he's in a rush or whatever, but he'll look the names over sometimes when he's looking and see who's on. And I try to be one of the first ones. I try my best. Sometimes the connection doesn't go through as fast when he shares, and I get on as soon as I can, though. Trust me, I'm waiting. I'm sitting waiting on the bench. I'm waiting the opportunity. Trust me. And when he gets on that, I try to make sure I send my greetings to him, let him know I'm there. And I get it is a gift from Shemaim when he says, how you doing? And he says that, and he sees it, and he sees my name. I feel like that. It's almost like everybody's flocking to watch these athletes or there's these stupid things that they keep up with. But when you have your rabbi becomes your hero, your rabbi becomes the one you really, really have amazing kavod for. You just hear his name, him say your name or him recognize you a little bit, it makes you feel great. It does. It's just like, man, he's seen me, and it's because he's I have so much, so much to. I feel like I owe him so much. I really do, because of all the hard work he's put in, because I benefited from it, and a lot of other people have. I mean, I've cried my share of tears because I've had a lot of stuff I've had to work on, and I'm still doing it. But he's I can't say nothing better. I've never experienced anything where I had someone so legit. Because I've had a lot of mentors in the past, but they end up being something crooked about them, or they kind of just stop being themselves, or whatever if you will. But I've never had someone just that dedicated and just doing what they got to do, no matter what. I strive to correct myself in the same ways. I even got my arm hurt the other day. Like he's got Rob's got an arm broken. I sprained my arm 3 days after he broke his arm. So I'm trying to be like him. I'm doing the best I can.
You get what you wish for, I guess, right?
That's right. Well, I'd rather. It's definitely a good way to be. My heroes has changed. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I had the secular heroes. I had all the people you look up to and thought they were great. But now all my heroes are in the books. Like Rabbi says, you don't need a bunch of friends. Make your friends the sages in the books. They can be your friends. Sit down and get involved in their conversations. Listen to them debate. Listen to them come up with the answers. Listen to the poetry in motion. Baruch Hashem. That's what I look up to.
I always, as a side note, I always think to myself, if we were to actually see and experience the sages from the Gemara, I'm not even talking about Avraham Avinu and even the older ones, but just the Gemara, I think it would be totally different than what we imagine. I think they're basically like superheroes, and there's so many interesting stories about them, and nobody else in the world, no other religion has such a thing,
Exactly.
I always think to myself, what would it be like to be like a fly on the wall and watch them and experience some of the things that they have to experience. It's very interesting.
The depth of the conversations, the depth of how they can take what a common person looks at is like, what is this about? What does this even matter? And just they go into depth and they can break it down. And they have sources, but they break down the potential. And then before you know it, they're going back and forth this conversation. And they're just like, for instance, Treka Brokos, they're talking about Shema. But they'll get off in another section. They'll break off another question about this and that. And you're sitting there, and the common looker would be like, they're not even staying in the subject. But everything is the subject. Everything is the subject. It's teaching you how to think. It's teaching you how to look at the situation and realize that you're finding 2 points of perception, and you're putting them into the point where they all comes to the point, and they're trying to find the exact point of keeping it properly together. They're not actually against each other. They're working with each other to find this point where everybody else. That's what I say. It's never. There's nothing like it. Anything that tries to copy it is totally absolute boring. There's nothing to wrap you in it. I don't think even if we was to be, if we was to even be with any of them in the Gemara, if we was to be and just actually get to sit down and within 5-10 minutes, I think where our brains would start steaming because the knowledge would be so overwhelming, we wouldn't be able to keep up with it. We would be like, we need a break, because I mean, they're unloading knowledge. I mean, it really blows your mind. I have to go over it back and forth over and over just to get it. And then when they give sources, I'm chasing other books in it. But it's like the way the conversation's held. It's almost like you're in a different realm, totally different realm. You lose track of time. I mean, you sit there 1 minute and it's a beautiful sunny day outside. You sit down, okay, I'll study some pages, and then I'll get finished, and I'll go get some fresh chair. I get done. Look out! I gotta go to bed. I gotta go to work tomorrow. It's gone because you don't even know what time is no more. It vanishes.
Yeah. We're off the show for that. You make a good point. It's like it's a very, very high level, but if you think about it, the level that it's at and the simplicity that they give it to us, it's crazy. The dynamic. There's so much that can be understood from one line with such simple wording, but at the same time, it's such a high level. It's like, Hashem obviously prepared it for all of the generations, for them and for us as well. He had some mercy on us, Baruch Hashem, because if it wasn't in at least a simple form enough for us to understand, then we wouldn't be able to do it, because we're such a low generation now that, like you said, we have to study a page. It takes us sometimes a few hours if you're even awake for half of the time.
No, that's true, Baruch Hashem. You're right about that.
Especially on Shabbat.
Yes. Just like, my credit to Rabbi again for, I've become a book person to study like I'm doing now. It was unheard of. My parents can tell the story of that. Just to get enough done to get by was what I was known for. Just get enough to get by. But to setting and to put the time I do now to work harder at it, because I feel like I'm not even where I want to be at all anyway. So it's always work. I set goals, and I'm still trying to get to some of them, but that's the way it's. And my dad's like, well, wherever whoever your teacher is, obviously he's definitely supposed to be your teacher, and he said you need to stick with it, because he said I've never heard my dad tell me he's proud of me. I've never heard my father tell me he's proud of me, but he's proud of me now, because he said you actually stand for something. He said before you didn't have nothing to stand for. Before you just kind of wanted to be with everybody else and have whoever friends you can have. Just join the crowd. He said now you have the courage to stand for something. And he said I admire that. And Rabbi said that in lectures. He said that in sure plenty of times over. He said when we try to be like the Goyim, he says this so many times. He said we try to be like the Goyim, then eventually they will hate us. I know exactly what that feels like. Before I even knew what I was, I felt that. But when they see us making us in, we're standing for who we're supposed to be. We're keeping what we're supposed to keep. We're honoring our existence as Hashem made us to be. They respect us. They may not like us in certain points, but they respect us because we stand for something and we won't budge from it. And that's why they call us stubborn people, because we'll hold on to it. Especially the ones that really know what it is. We won't let go of it. We'll hold our ground even if we have to lose everything, because to us, everything is nothing. If we don't have Hashem, we'd rather be like Hashem pleased with us and have the whole world hate us, because what can man do to you? David Melech, what man going to do to you? He can kill the flesh, but Hashem can destroy the soul. So, that's the way I feel. My dad, just for my dad to say that, I know that it's a change, because he don't say stuff like that. So for him to say that he's proud of that I have something, that I stand for something, and I stand for something good. He said because it is a good thing, because your choices are based on respect. Your choices are based on the way you carry yourself, and you're not. He said I haven't seen that out of you, and he said I can tell you do have someone that's a big influence on you. And he said and he said you need to keep going the way you're going, and he's because you have the courage to stand for something that means so much to you. He said you didn't have the courage before. He said you was afraid of losing everybody. But he said now you're afraid of losing this connection you have in life, and you'll give up everybody to hold on to it. He said that takes courage. And he said, I don't think you'd ever got it anywhere else. So, I mean, that to me is big. That's telling me, that's my teaching to me, telling me that you got to keep going. You're not there yet. Rabbi Mazaki used to say it all the time. Everybody wants to be told they're great. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You haven't reached your full potential. You got to keep going. You know, you want to say, hey, you're doing good, but you got to keep going. And he said a lot of times the parents will tell the kids, you're doing great. You're doing great. The kids take the foot off the pedal. They don't work as hard because they think they've already impressed their parents. And Mizrahi used to say, you can't tell your kids that they're great and they're this and that because you already tell them they've already succeeded. They haven't succeeded because they still have a whole life of work. They got to keep going. You just encourage them to keep going, but don't make them feel like they've already won because it ain't over yet. And so that's kind of the what I look at it too. But it's very big encouraging when you got. At one point, my dad was against me, against to oppose this whole thing. But now him to look at me and say, I respect you, because he knew that I was willing to lose. I will lose it just to hold on to what I'm supposed to do. And that to me, that's big. That's big. That's really huge for me to get that. So
it definitely, I don't know if you have kids, but you know, as a dad myself, it's probably so good to know that, you know, your child is, like you said, on the right path, and he's not doing any of the other stuff. He's not wasting his life. He's not, you know, in the whole, you know, low level of the world that people can get into, you know. It's definitely scary to imagine a child of yours. It doesn't matter how old they are, you know, you're still a baby and to your dad and your mom. You know, that's how parents are. They're always going to see us that way. Such a, you know, relaxing, almost like life extending feeling that you can give to your parents, and as a parent to feel that. So Baruch Hashem, because like you said, a lot of parents don't respect the path that some of their kids take, especially if it's for religion and Judaism, and you know, they fight against it and stop talking to them. Very unfortunate situations. But Baruch Hashem, you came out as one of the lucky ones. So challenges, you definitely went through a lot of challenges. You faced a lot of anti-Semitism, you know, other Jews kind of, you know, unfortunately, not guiding you on the way up, let's just say that. What are some of the goals that you're pursuing now? Like, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? And what kind of advice would you give someone else that's also in the process of doing tshuva, and why change their life?
My goals that I have right now, I have some short-term goals, and I have long-term. Short-term is I want to my study to grow more daily. I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. I wanted to, you know, I'm having to find balance between work and this and that, and you know, Baruch Hashem, I have planned this out that way. You know, I just want to, for me, I wanted to be able to grow my learning and my study level more, because I feel like that I could do more, and so I'm trying to grow it, even if that's 15 minutes a day extra. I'm not trying to get greedy, because I think sometimes if you try to throw too big of a goal up there, you will burn yourself out fast, because you're not built for it yet. You know, the neshama wants it, but the body is going to reject it. You have to work it. You have to trick the body into believing that it likes it. And I learned that from Rabbi. You have to trick the body. The body, if you try to go after the body aggressively, it's going to fight back, and it's going to make you drowsy, sleepy. It'll fight against you in each way. The SRI is wholly tuned in for that. So for me, my goal is I want to grow it. Even if like extra 15 minutes a day, I'm going for it. If I can get extra 30, I'll work my way up, just like he told me in the beginning. You know, you sit down and study for 15 minutes. Then after about a week or two, go to 30 and work your way up. That's just kind of the way I apply it. So that's short term for me. 5 years from now, Baruch Hashem, if I'm here, I want to definitely be work harder in my tshuva correction. I want to correct more, do more mitzvot, more. I want to give more tzedakah as much as possible. I want to try to be one of those people who can get up to 20%. I'd love to be able to do that. So that's one of my goals. I want to be able to figure out ways to help Rob with these messages and extending out. I'm actually privileged, and thank you for allowing me to speak, because this is I felt thrilled that I can maybe send something out just to help Rabbi that much more, whatever I can. So it's a privilege to me.
Thank you for coming on. Definitely a big help.
Ever since you messaged me last week, I've been preparing for this. So I've been excited about this. But that 5 years is definitely over a 5 year period of time. I definitely want to continue growing. I want it to grow on me to the point where I will become completely both. I don't want to be anything associated with what I used to be. And I'm not close to that at all, but I watched over time, the Torah becomes you. You grow. And as you grow, it's like the neshama grows out of you. It's almost like the neshama starts coming out of the body. Because I look at Rabbi, the payos and just everything about him, you can see is he's literally immersed in Torah. It's all you can see when you see him. It's just there. I want to be that way, not because I want people to see me that way. It's just because the books are so fascinating, the study is so fascinating. I want it to be. I just want to get lost in them. I want to get lost in where when I'm done with work, I've done my time. I get home, I take care of a few odds and ends I need to do, but I'm in the books. And sleep becomes. When I get it, I don't need much. I hope I'm going to get to the point where I don't need as much sleep. I can study more, and I still feel the rest. I know that happens. I've heard other people talk about it, that they do. I know people that does it, and it takes time, and I know it does. It takes the work, but that's my goal. I want to get to the point where the books I almost disappear. That the books are just so engulfed in books that the rest of the world is going in. I don't even know, because when I get there, I know that I'm in a very good place and a good path to clean up a lot of the mess that I've made. And that's really one of my ultimate goals, of reaching that level.
Definitely seems like you have the right mentality and right goal. Good future. It's good. Baruch Hashem. B'ezrat Hashem, you'll get there and you'll achieve all of your goals.
My advice to someone, if they're first starting, everyone's different. Everybody's got a different. Everything it affects everyone differently, because we're short on supply of what we have out there to actually tell us what we need to hear, and we don't have a lot of time to gradually get there as babies. We just don't really have the time, because Hashem knows. I mean, today could be anybody's last day. Hashem's like, hey, this is it. He pulls the plug and it's gone. We don't have any more. We can't do anything then. So my advice, if you want anyone that's going towards it, is if you're listening to the Rabbi Reuven on any of his shiurs, get a notebook, pad out, write it down, save as much, do a bunch of bullet points, get the sources, watch the lecture again if you missed something. Don't give up on. Well, I'll hear it another time. Get the information, focus on it. No matter where you are, if it makes no sense to you or not. Watch it again. Watch as many times as it takes. Tune in every single time he's on there. Allow him to show you what you're missing. Allow him to show you where you're short and what you need to work on, and apply it. If you let him do that, he will make you super strong in a very fast way, in a good way, not a fast way where it's going to not mean nothing. It's going to mean a lot, but you got to let the process. You got to fall in love with the process. The destination, you don't know when it's going to be. We don't know when our destination is going to end, but fall in love with the process of learning. Every time he's on, listen to him, write down bullet points. And if you have questions, send him a question. He'll get to you as soon as he can. Be open to let him hurt your feelings. He's going to have to. He's going to have to hurt your feelings, because we have been told so long that everything's okay, that we're all winners when we're losing everything. And we need to be told. So the only way you can improve is when you're told you got a lot of work, you got something to improve on. And we do. We all have a lot to prove on. So I tell anybody that I talk to, when they first hear first thing they say, they don't really get some of the stuff he says because they don't have the backgrounds brought up religiously to understand, or he's harsh. I never heard it this way. You sure? I mean, maybe he's good for you, but not for me. And I'm like, well, what part of it that you don't think is right? Well, I've never heard it this way. I just don't think it's the way it's supposed to be taught. It's like, maybe because you ain't heard it that way, because the truth is not the funnest thing. It's not our friend in the beginning. The truth, you don't like it. It only becomes your friend and your companion is when you understand that it's for your own good. It's your medication, and you got to take it. And that's what I try to tell them, is that you don't do it the first thing. That's the FRR telling you, he's not good. It's trying to keep you from doing it. That means it's a good thing, because if it's trying to get you away, you need to stay. That's what if it's trying to get you away, you need to stay. And so I was like, he's huge. He really is. Him, Zaki, they're huge. That's huge. We don't know how important these gems are, because if we had a lot of them, like during our sages during the Gemara, they had many people like this. That's how they taught. This is not new. This is how they taught. If you read the Gemara, that's what it's coming from. We're not hearing sugarcoated. So we just don't have as many now. It's unfortunate. And so I'd just say you stick with it. Let him get the platform. Be open-minded and listen. And I guarantee you, if you do that and not let your feelings get in the way, you will know a huge difference right off that. Within a month, you'll start realizing how much you're changing and what you're working on to improve yourself. He'll get you in a good place. Now, this one that I do know, I think I learned this with his book myself. As a Jew, I think one of the prime examples I learned is if you're afraid of being alone, don't. If you are afraid of being alone, don't do the right thing, because when you do the right thing, you're going to be alone. There's not a crowd of people standing there. When there's a crowd of people gathered together, and usually it's for something wrong. A lot of times when we're doing what's prescribed of us to do, what we're obligated to do, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people doing it, and it's a lonely existence sometimes. As a Jew, it is lonely. We have a lot of our people around us, and we have things to celebrate together. But one thing is, as a people, we do know what it's like to be a lonely existence sometimes, because sometimes we have to be. Sometimes we have to be strong, and we have to be able to be courageous enough to say, okay, everyone else kind of, whatever everybody else is doing around you, sometimes you just have to continue to go a little further, and you can't follow the flow. Sometimes we also can mislead ourselves on certain things too with others. So if a lot of people think about being Jewish, they like to dress, and that's true. A lot of people like to dress a certain way, or they want to feel like they know a lot of things, but they're not equipped to understand sometimes you're alone, because sometimes, especially in this day and age, I should say, because of where you're living, some people don't live in the same places, in certain communities, but it's not the same as they perceived it, because sometimes you have to make a decision based on what the Torah says, no matter what. And you have to reach out and you have to ask the rabbi. I've done this before. I've asked him questions and say, what do you think should happen? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I've got this individual asking this, and I was talking about the other day. So I asked the question because I want to make sure that I don't want to tell anybody it's the wrong thing. And so Rabbi will answer back, and I'm like, most of the time, I got an idea what he's going to say, then sometimes I don't. And he'll come back and he'll say what to say. And he's like, well, you just go ahead and tell him. And he said, there's going to be a place again. Is it worth going to get him over? Is it worth to have his own Holocaust? Because if he does it, this is what's going to happen. And I show the messages when they ask me questions, and I was like, well, what's your rabbi say about this? And I was like, okay, if you're really serious, I don't just do anybody, because some people just ask the question to see if you'll just play a game. I'm not doing that. So they asked the question, and they said, I'm serious. I'd really like to know what I need to do, because, it's not laying out plain in black and white. So I reached out to him and asked him a question, and he'll come back and he'll say, well, you tell him if he wants to show up to the gathering of such, and it's going to be in violation of Shabbos. You tell him, he says, is it worth his Holocaust and going to Ganon over to celebrate a little secular event? And I showed the message he sent me. Nobody likes those messages. But the truth is the truth. They don't get mad about it. They're like, well, I mean, they kind of feel, it's like, you see that just like this hit them in the face a little bit. And it's like, I know the look, but it's a lonely existence sometimes when you're trying to do what you're supposed to do. And you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared to be uncomfortable. That's what I should say. Be prepared to be uncomfortable. Because as Jews, we are always going to be uncomfortable. From not just the other nations, but sometimes with our own. Because sometimes we have to put ourselves out there to help somebody. And sometimes it's a very etchy feeling. Sometimes it's kind of like uncomfortable, because a lot of people do not like to be told that where they're at's not the ideal spot. So, but if we care enough about each other, we won't lie to each other. So if you're, a lot of people, they need people. We all need people, but don't let the idea that every once in a while you might feel a little alone. Just always remember that that's what our history is built that way. Look at Moshe Rabbeinu. He knows what it's like to be alone. He's amongst millions and millions of people, but he knows what it's like to be alone. I mean, that's why he asks Hashem questions. He's always seeking Hashem. I mean, he had to deal with a lot of adversity, but with much responsibility, has a lot required. And that's what we do as a people. I think that's what it is. And I think a lot of times I just basically tell people, just be comfortable in your own skin. Know it's just a process, and don't be afraid to be alone to do the right thing. Don't be afraid of it, because you need to know that the right thing's more important no matter what. And you got to do it, and you're obligated to it. So, and that's the way I would encourage anybody that's going into the new process, the tshuva or anything. It's you got to have your lonely points, but that's where you're gaining some ground, because Hashem, he puts you in, you get put in these positions and say, okay, is the Torah, is that what you're doing because everybody else is doing it, or are you doing it because you're obligated to do it? And sometimes that's how we're kind of put through our little tests to see what is our real goal. Is our goal to follow everyone else when they're doing it, or is it we're doing it because we're obligated to do it? So that's something I've learned over the years.
Well, Baruch, thank you very much for coming on. It's a very interesting story, very very influential. It's a very big form of tzedakah, and it's a very, very good opportunity for you to give a little back to the organization and everything they said. The Rabbi helped you, so it's Baruch Hashem, it's very good.
No, it's good meeting you, Stanley, because you're famous. Rabbi talks to last son, so it's always good.
And
I've heard your name.
No.
I've heard your name over the years, and I've always wondered, who's Sonny? So, yeah, favorite Sonny. I'm glad to meet you.
Baruch Hashem. But we couldn't do the show without you, and people like you. So we really appreciate it, and like I tell everyone else, the gates of the gates in Shemaim are open now, because you're definitely going to help a lot of people. You're doing a big form of kiruv. So as soon as we end, pray, ask Hashem for whatever you want. If you need parnasah or whatever, do it, go for it. And if there's ever a round 2 or anything in the future, any progress, maybe we can do something else again. Show something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm no welcome. If you ever have anything come up to a point where we could speak about some more details of other things, I just try to highlight some of the important stuff that would matter. But yeah, if you ever had an idea that you want to do something ever again, you let me know. I'll be whatever I can do to help. I'm more glad to do.
I mean, that's what we're doing. We're trying to bring everyone to return to Hashem by highly influencing stories like this. So Hashem, we'll be in touch, and if there's anything you need, reach out to us, reach out to me, and Hashem, everything will be be all right. All right,
Thank
bro.
you very much.
Take care. We'll be in touch. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. A very special thank you to all our amazing guests who show real Ahavat Yisrael by taking the time out of their busy schedules and sharing their ups and downs with us, all for the sake of Am Yisrael. May Hashem continue to bless you 1,000-fold. If you enjoyed this video, you can find more of these podcasts on our website at www.bizathashem.org. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel to hear more highly influencing lectures and stories like the one you heard here today. Thank you for watching, and Bezat Hashem, may we all have the merit to return to Hashem.